Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at this particular time, anywhere in the world. This is Samuel Anehan Udo welcoming you to Edisam Online Academy. In our Autocad tutorial for today, we will be looking at how to set object snaps and how to make use of object snaps. We'll be looking at how to use object snaps. So I believe you're going to have a wonderful time with us today. So like I said, we'll be looking at how to activate and use object snaps on Autocad. So without much ado, I'm going to go to the Autocad screen right away. So let me so this is the last lesson we had. We did this drawing. Okay. So quickly, I'm going to delete some of them. So this drawing. So in our same, we drew these circles in our previous drawing. So let me quickly delete them. I'm going to leave just one of them on the screen. So let me draw some other objects. I'm just going to draw some objects freestyling. I draw a rectangle. I draw a line. Okay. And I draw a polygon. Okay. Now, what are object snaps? Object snaps and actually enables you to attach a line to an object on an object to another one at a specific point easily without struggling. Take for instance, right now, I have this line. If I want to draw a line at this spot, you can see that a square, green square appears. There's a green square that appears where I have my cursor, such that when I click, the line I want to draw connects directly to this, the edge of this rectangle. So I can draw my circle easily. Now I'm going to show you why this is possible is because object snaps are on, is turned on. This is the object snap here. Let me turn it off and do the same thing. So I go back. I want to draw a line at this point, this spot here. I click on line. I come here. It's not clipping. Why? Because object snap is turned off. So now, what are the object snaps that we have? Let me go back here. It's still off right now. So to actually see all the object snaps that are available, I have to click this drop down arrow in front of this box here, this square. That is on your status bar. You have model, grid, snap mode, move to auto mode. You come here to this square. So that drop down arrow, click on it. on clicking on it, all the stuff pops up. All these items pops up. These are all the snaps that are available. So let me unclick these ones, uncheck the ones that were checked. So already now, the one that we're using for in this tutorial is endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center, quadrant, and nearest. I'm going to make use of these ones. So I've turned them on. So I come back over here. I pick this line. I want to clip it at this point. It's not clipping. Why is it not clipping when I've turned on my snap? It's because object snap is off. I can turn it on here. I come back to the status bar. I come to object snap. I can click on this square and turn it on. Or I can click on the drop down arrow. Let me click on the drop down arrow. So when you click on the drop down arrow, go down to the bottom where you see object snap setting. Click on object snap settings. So when you click on it, these are all the snaps. The ones I've checked are checked already. The ones I checked are checked. The ones I didn't check are unchecked. Now, this is object snap on. It is not checked. So I can check it here. Come here and check it. Once I check it, I click on OK. Now, if I go back, my line, okay, let me escape. I go back to line. I want to draw a line at this spot now. The green box appears and endpoint is written. I left click. It connects. I draw. I now move out and the line is drawn. Okay. So the same thing. I want to draw a line at this edge here. I come here. Endpoint appears. I click. I extend my line. I end it. I draw. So I can draw lines at each of these points here. All the endpoints of the objects. For any quadrilateral, quadrilaterals must have an endpoint where two lines join. Where two lines join constitute an endpoint. So once that endpoint snap is on, you can connect any object or line to that spot. Okay. The same way also, you can actually connect a cycle as well, or another object. Like now, I can come here and draw a cycle. I can still come there and draw a square. Okay. Okay. So I can draw any object at this point. So these are endpoints for endpoint now. How about other snaps? Like I said, that we have a couple of other snaps. So let's assume now that I want to, this is my cycle. Let me delete these two lines that I've already drawn. Now I want to draw a line at the midpoint of this side, this line here, upper line that makes up the cycle, this side. I want to draw a line at the middle. So what do? I'll go to line, then I'll move towards the center. Immediately I get to the center, this triangle will appear and you see midpoint. That indicates that I'm at the midpoint, the middle of that line. So I can go ahead and left click and extend my line. I drag it up and I click again to terminate the command. I press enter to stop everything there. So this one is at the midpoint. I can still draw a cycle. This is another midpoint now. I draw a cycle there. So let me just explain how to draw at midpoint. You click on what the objects you want to draw. Like now, let's assume I want to draw a cycle. I click on cycle command. It tells me to specify center point of cycle. The center point of cycle I want to specify is the midpoint. So I come close to the midpoint of this line. Immediately I get to the midpoint, this triangle is going to appear. And midpoint to reach it. Then all I need to do is just to click and extend my cycle. Then this cycle is at the midpoint of this line. So that is that for midpoint. Okay, let's just draw on this midpoint of this line, of this polygon. So that is just that. Okay, now we've looked at midpoint We've looked at what? We've looked at midpoint. We've looked at endpoint. Next, we'll be looking at quadrants. Quadrants. Quadrants actually applies to cycles. It applies to only cycle. So what's a quadrant? Take for instance now, I've selected the cycle. This point, highlighted point, are the quadrants of this cycle. So I can actually connect a line or object at this point here. This 1, 2, 3, 4. Any of these 4 points. This one, the middle one is on the quadrant, but this other 4 are the quadrant. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can connect lines to this point. I press escape to unselect it. So now let me show you. I'm going to draw a line here. So I click on line. It tells me first point. My first point is the quadrant, upper quadrant. I go close to it. Immediately I get a lands on it. Quadrant appears. I click. I extend my line. That line is drawn. So next, I'm going to draw a circle on this quadrant here. I come there. Immediately the quadrant appears. I click. I draw my cycle. Okay. So that is how to draw on the quadrant. Okay. Next, we are going to look at another snap we'll be looking at is the center snap. Center applies to only cycles. It applies to cycles. So we want to draw a line at the center of the cycle. So what do? We go to line. We click on line command. It says specify first point. Our first point is center of the cycle. Immediately I come close to the center, this appears, and center is written. I click there, and I extend my line in the desired direction. Okay, I can still draw a cycle at that center. So what do? In the same vein, I go to cycle. I click on cycle command. It's actually specify center point for cycle. Center point is the center of this cycle. But now, since I have a line, endpoint is showing, and there's also a center point. So what do? What do? Endpoint is showing, but there is also a center which I want to appear. There are cases whereby 2 endpoints might be at the same spot, but now let's assume I'm looking for center of that cycle. I'm not looking for the endpoint of the line. How am I going to get the center? What do? What I'm going to do is that you have to press Shift key on your keyboard. When you press Shift key, then you right click, and all the snaps will appear. Then click on the one you're looking for. In this case, the one that we are looking for is center. So I'm going to click on center. So when I click on center, now I can release the shift key now. When I come close, center will appear. So I can now click and draw my cycle at the center. As simple as that. Okay? So let me just explain that concept again. I said in an instance whereby maybe at a particular spot there are 2 snaps, but you are really looking for one of them. Let's come here. Over here, this is the midpoint of this line, and this other line, vertical line connects. So there will be an endpoint and a midpoint as well. So let's draw a line at the midpoint of this line. But endpoint is what is going to show. When I come here, endpoint shows. But I want midpoint to appear. What am I going to do? So I go to my keyboard. I press down Shift key. I right click. Since I'm looking for midpoint, I will look for midpoint. When I get to midpoint, I click. I now come here. Midpoint is going to appear. Now, the endpoint will no longer appear. So I click on midpoint and draw the line I want to draw. So that is how, when you are having conflicting, there are instances where even more 3, 4 snaps might be at the same spot, but you are actually looking at one, or they may be close, so they may be interfering. there are scenarios whereby the snaps are quite close, but you're just looking for one particular one. So that is how you get the one you're looking for. So right now we have there is two snaps are remaining. That is geometric center and nearest. Where does geometric center applies to? For cycle now, I said that center snap applies to cycle alone. For other polygons, what they don't have center, they have geometric center. So like this rectangle, which is a polygon, and this is an hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is an heptagon. It has 7 sides. It has a geometric center. So let's assume that we want to draw a cycle at the geometric center of this rectangle and this polygon here. What are we going to do? We go to cycle. It says specify center point. We come here. This is it. It appears. And what is written there is geometric center. So we click on that geometric center and then we drag out, and our cycle is drawn at the geometric center. So I'm going to repeat that on this object here. So what do? I go to cycle command. I click on cycle command. I come here to this shape. Immediately I come to this shape, the geometric center appears. I move my cursor on it and geometric center is reading. I click on it and I drag my mouse out, and that is it. Okay. Actually it. Okay. So that is how to, for like I said, for any other shape which is not a cycle, any other closed shape, what you're going to have is geometric center, not center. Center applies to listen, to only cycle alone. Then the last snap we'll be looking at for this tutorial is nearest. Let's assume now that I want to draw. Let me turn on the snap. So I go to this square, I click on it to turn on the snap. If I want to draw a line that connects at any other spot, not the endpoint, not the midpoint, not the quadrant, not the center, how am I going to, I want to connect a line to this cycle, but not on any of the snaps that we've used so far. How am I going to do it now? If I come close enough, let me see. I zoom in to make it larger. I come close, I draw. This line appears as if it has clipped to this shape, but when I zoom in, it actually shows that this line crosses this one. It doesn't attach directly. It crosses it. I wanted it to attach at the edge here and move out instead of it crossing. But now when I zoom out, originally when the object was this way, it was as if that attached itself. But when I now zoom in to the object, how do I zoom in? I roll my mouse forward. I now discover that the line actually crossed. So to avoid this, you have to turn nearest snap on. You have to turn the nearest snap. This snap on, nearest. You have to turn it on to make it disappear. I click on the screen. So now, once it's turned on, let me turn on my object snap once again. So I go here to this square icon, I click it, it's now turned on. So I click on line, I come to any point on that line, on that rectangle, I start drawing. It will draw this time around. I come here, nearest appears once again. Let me do it again. Nearest appears, I draw, I twist, I come back. Nearest appears, I draw. So this is how you actually achieve that. Okay, even on a cycle, let's assume we want to draw on this our cycle here. So let me zoom in so that you can actually view it well. This is called, I don't draw for that. I don't draw on any other place. Any other place will show you nearest. But if nearest is not on, you won't be able to draw that line. So now let me zoom in. Zoom in. No matter how I zoom in, the line starts at the beginning of the circumference of the cycle. So I've just come to the end of the tutorial. using certain object snaps and actually making use of the object snaps. I hope you actually had a wonderful time today with me. So please, I'll beg you to subscribe to my channel, drop your comments. If you have any comments or question with respect to this lesson for today, please feel free to drop them. And as well, you can still WhatsApp me on chat me on WhatsApp on +2348038295185. So I really appreciate the time and effort you've put in to connect to our lesson for today. I believe you actually had a wonderful time. So right now, I'll be signing out. So I would like to join us in our next lesson. Thank you very much and bye-bye.